Trident Wargaming. Build it, paint it, play it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Trident Wargaming Podcast. You are joined with the Four Horsemen once again. Myself, Bill. I'm joined with my co-host, Andy.
Hello.
Co-host, Arthur.
Hey.
And we are joined by Scott as well.
Who is live from the Trident Wargaming Grotto.
That's right.
Sure am.
That's right.
And any person who wins the TWC gets an all-expenses-paid trip to sit on Scotty's lap at the Trident Wargaming Grotto.
Wow.
For obvious YouTube guideline reasons, I can't pan the camera right now, but let me just say, the view's great.
You know, when I said we were going to do a Trident Wargaming hot tub stream, I wasn't serious. And if I sub right now, if I donate to the Patreon right now, will you do jumping jacks or squats?
No. I'm about 6 drinks in right now, so.
Well, today's episode for Season 3, Episode 16 is called Get It, Got It, Gotcha. And we're going to talk a lot about what gotchas mean a little bit later. But before we get there, it's an exciting time. We are at the end of 9th edition. We are graduating on the 10th edition. You know, we're heading into like a sophomore year. Maybe we're seniors. We're no longer the freshmen that we once were. And just like
we are.
Just like when we go to any sort of graduation, I'd like to play a little game if you'd carry on with me here. So, as you guys remember, when you went to your high school grads, like when Scotty went in 1956, or Bill in 66, or Andy in 69. 69. We're going to do Warhammer characters or factions voted most likely to. All right, and then we'll just round table it. So, question 1. What Warhammer character or faction do you think is most likely, or are you most likely to take home to mom, to meet your parents? Your girlfriend or boyfriend or paramour of some kind, or maybe just a friend. Andy, you're up first.
Well, I'm not going to say demons, that's for sure. That could be trouble. I'm gonna probably go with Tau. Actually, very humble, very low key, kind of go with that anime style looking. Maybe female pilots, but you know,
take shout-outs on Home to Meet Mom. Billy.
Yeah. You'd want her to kind of be like a sister of battle. At least in appearance, but more of a like Drukhari in the sheets. Be kind of
sister battle in the streets, Drukhari in the sheets. Okay,
yeah, there you go.
Goodness.
So do you have one?
Pick one. You can't take 2 home to mom.
Yeah, I guess I'd go. I guess I'd go with Sisters of Battle.
Okay, Big Scott.
Well, I was gonna say, like being from the South myself, I feel like the one you take home to mom is sister. But seeing as that's already taken, I think if you're looking to impress the parents, you want to not necessarily bring home the hottest chick at the ball, but the one who they think would be the best match for you. And I think pretty much regardless of who you are, if you're trying to impress your parents, what you bring home is a Space Marine army, right? They know they're flexible, they know they're wholesome, they know that they're well supported, come from a good family. We'll have lots and lots of successor chapters with you. So it's the perfect match.
So Gollum or the Lion? Who's coming home?
Oh, definitely the Lion. It's super easy. We got the same mustache, man.
Yeah. I struggled with this one. I wanted to say Celestine, and I was like, nah, I'm more of a Greyfax kind of man. And I was like, we can't leave my old flame, the Swarm Lord, hanging, right? Did it have to be the Swarm Lord?
Jesus.
Take home to Mom.
Man.
Mom, this is Swarm Lord Chan.
Okay.
I got another one here for you. Here's a more serious one, though. What faction do you think is most likely to succeed in 10th edition?
Ooh.
We'll reverse order this time, so let's take it from Scotty, Bill,
Who I
and then
think is
Andy.
the most likely to succeed in 10th edition? Okay, well, I mean, keeping in mind that obviously we only know so much, but from what we've seen so far, okay, I've got a pick and I've got an honorable mention. My pick is actually my pick would actually be, I think, Imperial Guard. For one, like I think that, like, whilst I know that we're going to the index rules or probably whatever, something similar to that, I think that the ninth update, will short-lived, unfortunately, for Imp Guard, is going to be great for them going forward in the sense that it did update their rules from 8th edition and gave GW a good launching point for their 10th edition rules. Also got them some cool new kits like the Rogel Dorn, which they're going to want to have great rules on. And GW's the last couple editions been really good about getting good rules out there for the mech stuff, and you combine that with, where there's a lot of people thinking, well, we're going to see a vehicle meta that's just based on the basic rules we've seen so far. I think I would pick Guard. We haven't actually seen much from their preview, but I got a feeling. I got a feeling that tonight's going to be a good night, and Imperial Guard are going to be in it. However, my honorable mention, of course, the one that everyone's talking about is Space Marines, just entirely based off the fact that they too run a pretty good vehicle-heavy army, and their faction rules look, at least maybe head, shoulders, chest, hips, knees above everybody else. So that'd be what I'd say.
Billy.
Oh, those are good points for sure. Based on what I know, I know. Based on what I know right now, I want to say Drukhari, but I don't even know what they're gonna do. To be honest, I think the Tyranids are gonna be looking really good in 10th.
Old Swarm Lord Chan.
I really think
Bring it home to Mom.
So, if I had an honorable mention, I'd probably agree with the Space Marines. They're going to be they're a nice poster faction. I really think they're going to hopefully be strong and up there. I'd also like CSM to be there too. So, I'll have to see.
Andy, faction
Tyranids
most likely to succeed.
Well, not really being in the scene of 9th, like almost at all, except for one day of playing and beating Bill down.
You are undefeated in 9th edition. Don't sell yourself short.
I have like excelled through the course in university of 40K for 9th and just completely skipped all the course and went straight to the test. So, I don't know. I think just from reading up on the stuff that they've released, like a lot of the rules are looking really good, but I'm gonna go with my favorite for the Demons.
Demons, okay.
They got some interesting Shadows of Chaos abilities and stuff that is doing their possibility of doing some damage and whatnot, just from the battle shock, which I think is going to be a big thing in 10th. And just from what I've seen, like some of the cards or the units are looking pretty tough. So, the characters, the greater demons, I should say.
Yeah.
But they've also had, like, their book in 9th was still fairly new as well, right? So I think they're going to probably see a pretty good run for 10th. Yeah. As for the others,
you had a comment about Tyranids before that, Scotty. We cut you off.
I was going to say that Tyranids can also spam high toughness stuff pretty well. So whilst I think there's a lot of talk about, the toughness scaling and how that could be really good for vehicles and the ability to spam vehicles, the truth is, and this goes for Chaos Daemons too, the ability to spam monster creatures is very much the same.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a thing, assuming that that there is as much difficulty with dealing with high toughness as some people are predicting. Which again, we don't really know, but just based on what we've seen. for what it's worth, I will throw this out there. Arthur's absolutely right. Andy here challenged the bar and fucking aced it as far as 9th edition goes. I think we have to call him Dr. Monty from now on.
Dr. Monty.
Doctor.
Like,
and his house of demonic terrors.
the Count of Monte Cristo over here. Like, holy crap.
To round it all off, continuing that theme of like toughness, and Drukhari, Bill. I'm gonna say Imperial Knights or Chaos Knights, Knights of one flavor. I think they're going to be over the top. Just looking at the profiles for like Meltaguns, it's not getting there. And this last couple editions, it's actually been melee. That's been the easiest way to topple these big, monstrous, towering titans. But a lot of that melee has been like Strength 6, Strength 7, Strength 8. And that's probably going to stay the same, and it's not going to quite have the same punching value. Now, we haven't seen the rest of the rules, but rules that we have seen, I'm about to go buy 5 big knights and just stomp my way to the top. I think they're going to be busted.
14 little ones.
15 little ones.
Yep.
All right, I got 2 more questions for you. So this one's kind of it's a double question. So it's the faction least likely to succeed and most likely to get that Astra Militarum treatment. The Astra Militarum treatment I'm referencing then is being one of the last codexes or the last codex to get an update. So for the 3 years of the edition until that point, you're probably not doing so hot. So let's take it in a completely different order. We'll take Billy here first. Which ones do you think are least likely to succeed and most likely to get that guard treatment?
Ooh. I'm trying to think here. Oh man. Least likely to succeed. I have a sneaking suspicion. It's more like sub-faction, but I have a sneaking suspicion that Imperial Fists are probably still gonna suck, or at least be underwhelming.
Yellow Marines.
Yeah, which makes me sad because I love painting them. They're great. As far as what's gonna get the
they deserve better.
The other treatment here, I don't know. It's really hard to say. To be honest, it's probably going to be like Death Guard or something silly. It'll be super long in the tooth. Like they'll release all the other Chaos stuff. I hear rumors about like Emperor's Children release and all that other shit. So I think Death Guard might be one of the forgotten kids this round.
Yeah. Okay, Andy.
I'm had in my head thinking about like Grey Knights and like Death Watch.
Right, the Marine adjacent armies, but not the ones that can take like the new Marine stuff that gets really pushed. Okay.
I mean, I think they might get a little bit of a revamp or something at some point, but are they going to do really well? I don't know. We don't know, right? But they probably could possibly get a good revamp later down the road, just like the Astra Militarum did. But I don't know. There's those 2, and then I think Thousand Suns.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to do too well. They might be kind of medium.
But those 4 data sheets they have are going to be the best 4 data sheets available to them. All right. Second part of that question, Andy. Most likely to get that guard treatment. Who's coming out last?
I'm gonna say Chaos Space Marines.
Ooh. You know what? You bring up a good point there. I think people who play Chaos Space Marines probably also play, and not all of them, and sorry Chaos players if you're listening, they probably also play Death Guard, they probably also play Thousand Suns, they probably also play World Eaters, right? I don't think you just play Black Legion. I think you're playing a little bit of everything. And I think that's probably part of GW sales mechanics, that they're expecting that Chaos players will jump from whatever Codex of Chaos is best. And I think the same can be said of like the Eldar players. Most of them don't just play Craft Worlds. Some of them do. But a lot of them also own like a little bit of Harlequins, a little bit of Dark Eldar, and they'll probably jump between.
Does it seem...
next, but sorry, I keep cutting you off.
I was just gonna say, does it seem like maybe like those like Harlequins Grey Knights, Death Watch kind of might be just those obscure kind of armies that people play, but a lot of people don't play, and maybe that's why their codexes aren't, up top. I don't know. I'm just blurbing,
Yep. Musings.
So, like Inquisition, did they even do that again? They do that anymore? I don't know.
Not yet, but with that new kill team coming up, maybe they will.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the faction least likely to succeed in Ninth is going to be Necrons. That new reanimation protocol is bunk. They don't have, barring the monolith, the crazy high toughness stuff. And with another early book, I think that maybe they'll do well for the first 3-4 months. But I think that'll just get superseded by every other book. And I think we're going to see, barring another Nephilim Reawakening, a similar structure to Necrons. But as far as the last codex we get, I don't know. I think it's going to be like a book that is not very popular, that they want to like refresh a range of. I hope that it's not Craft Worlds. I know that they're more popular, but there's a big range refresh coming with them. That wouldn't surprise me if that comes off to the tail end, and then people buy big into it. It's like over the top with all these new units, and then 11th edition rolls around. I swear to God, I hope I'm not waiting 3 years for Craft Worlds decks.
Don't spin your tape, man.
So here's the thing. I think you're on to something there. For one, like for the first question, who I think least likely to succeed, I think the Necron choice is actually, I think that's an inspired take, because it's kind of that they suit a lot of those, they check a lot of the boxes where it's like early Xenos Codex probably falls behind as the edition goes on and the power creep happens, and they don't tend to get as much support. Necrons have also historically been very difficult to balance because they're one of the few Xenos books that, not few, but few books in general that kind of walks the line in between power armor and T3. They're a little of both, and so that sometimes can make them difficult to balance, which usually means that GW nerfs them too much and whatever. However, the codex I'm gonna pick is part of kind of a cluster, I guess, and I'm gonna say it'll be a T3 army, because I think especially with the toughness and strength creep of 10th edition, the T3 armies which are already up against it a lot of times now might struggle even more, because there's just going to be that many more things that are just always crumping them that hard, and it's very hard to put mechanics into the game. And I think GW is actually finally realizing this. It's very hard to put survivability mechanics into the game that make up for that aren't either too powerful or not powerful enough. And so that naturally tends to lean towards not powerful enough, because if it's too powerful, it gets nerfed. So it'll be a T3 army. I don't think it will be Craft World Eldar, because I think they sell well enough and they're a very popular army. And it's not to say they won't have bad times, but I think it'll be one of the other ones. Gene Stealer Cults, Admech, Drukhari. I think one of them, because they're also, like as I mentioned, kind of also more obscure, Harlequins maybe. More obscure books that don't sell quite as much. They just don't have a lot going for them aside from hopefully a sympathetic writer. So I think it'll be one of those that ends up kind of pulling up the rear, as it were. As for last book out, okay, I'm gonna go on record. I'm gonna say this with 100% certainty. The last book out in 10th edition will be a new codex that has not previously existed, because that's how GW does it nowadays. The last codex out that we currently have a book for, though, which is maybe what we're really asking here. You know what? Again, I think Arthur's on the right track. It's got to be a book that needs a range refresh, because that's oftentimes how it goes. And I hate to say it, but the two that come to mind for me right now are Chaos Space Marines and Eldar, Craft World Eldar. Both of those have, a fair number of kits in them that either they could use some new kits. In the case of CSM, because a lot of their kits have been bled out into these supplement codexes now, World Eaters and Thousand Suns, etc. Or Eldar, where there's a lot of kits that could use an update. And both have lots of prime space for new kits. Both are big sellers when they do launch, which means they're great for a late edition push. I actually would say Tau as well, but we obviously know from the roadmap that Tau will be coming at least, next spring or whatever. Otherwise, I'd say that. But I think it'll be one of those. I hate to say it. I don't want that to happen. I feel bad for whoever it ends up being. Anyone who has a late codex. Same for the people who have early ones. The best spot is to have your codex released like right in the middle of an edition. That's prime real estate. So
1 year in.
That's who I'd pick. Yep. 1 year, 1 to 2 years in. These editions tend to be 3 years long or so.
All right. Last question before we move on to things that really matter. Let's do just a quick rapid fire response. It's got to be like a 2 or 3 second answer. This one. Which character from the Warhammer 40k universe do you think is most likely to make the cover of Games Workshop swimsuit calendar? Like right on the front. Billy, you're up first. Who's on the top?
Lilith.
Okay. Oh, Bill's into the big goth titty girlfriends. Andy, you're next.
Celestine.
That was mine. Scotty.
Tor Garadon.
All right. I'm going to say Old One Eye. I think Old One Eye's got that bikini suit.
I don't... Wait, what kind of magazine are we doing? You can't put an Old One Eye on the front of a swimsuit magazine. It's got to be internal content.
If you put a little bathing suit on, it'll work. It's winking at you.
Well, Old One Eye in like a banana hammock. You can't see nothing. Yeah, okay. I see where we're going with this.
That's xenophobic.
It's all cloacas anyways.
Fuck, I should have said great unclean one.
It's the 41st millennium. Yeah, I can't be xenophobic.
Cloacas all the way down.
I'm going to show you guys an Old One Eye.
Okay. We referenced it earlier. Bill and Andy played a game this week. So we're actually going to get into This Week in Warhammer, some what we did in Hobby, what we did in our game. But I think that the thing that most of our viewers are really interested in, based on our Instagram likes, that thing was popping off, was Bill and Andy's game. So Andy returned to the wild west of Warhammer 40k, coming off like an entire edition of not playing a lot of Heresy, playing a lot of Bolt Action, playing a lot of other games. Yep. Decided to jump cannonball in to 40k. You guys played a little 1,000 point game.
Yeah.
And all we saw on Instagram was Bill, very upset and Andy cheering himself on. So, Andy, what happened? What happened in this game?
I wrecked him.
It's true.
Wrecked him.
So last time I played Demons, the rules were really different, and like we played 1,000 points, and Bill maneuvered quite aggressively with his T3 army that he's not used to. That's for sure.
First game.
And, well, there you go. And like we're both rusty. I'm rusty as fuck. So just moved my guys forward, and they kind of all have range. And then, of course, the spells taking like Fate Weather, right? Like, just it hit pretty hard. Started popping off some units, and then
who the fuck takes Fate Weaver to 1,000 point game? Andy, come on,
OP
guy
power gamer, motherfucker.
Like, I had to show face, man. First game, I had to take it.
Narrative.
Narrative.
Yeah,
I knew there was a 40k player in you. Are you even allowed to play Heresy after this?
I can play whatever I want. I got the toys. Do what I want. But just tried out the units and kind of just pushed forward. And they, like I said, they all had range and just trying things out, right? Like Bill was helping me out with what's what, because it's been forever since I even touched 40k. So, a lot of fun and kind of regretting not jumping into 9th, is essentially out. Now that I kind of seen, oh wow, it's not as bad as what people were saying. It's not as gimmicky or not as horrible. Like I said, that's what people were saying. It was quite fun, quite rejuvenating, I guess I should say, compared to some of the other games. So I'm excited, excited to jump into 10th with everybody and play at the club as well, and just play with all these new players too. Because like I'm always at the shops, and there's tons of different players, guys I haven't even roll dice with and stuff. But I
Guys
talk.
who have never felt the wrath of Warlord Monte.
Yeah, So I'll be coming at you and taking names and rolling dice. So
I think my favorite part about this is just how positive Andy is about this. Billy, how did you feel about this game?
Honestly, it wasn't bad.
lies.
Full disclosure, first game with Drukari, and I was really fumbling through my book, just trying to figure out what I actually could do. Based on the board size, which is 30 by 44, I didn't really need to move up at all. I should have just hid, just because the army have so much movement, and I have the ability to pretty much have a threat range of 19 inch plus my charge. It's obscene, right? It's just they're very fast. The way I was running my witches and whatnot, anyways, it was good, but definitely glass cannon. When I get hit, they get hit hard, and they just can't stand up. So I'll definitely have to change the way I'm playing and a little bit of my tactics. It was an eye-opening, like just how fast they actually can be. And I would do things a little bit differently. But that succubus with the relic whip is pretty legit. She lives up to her name, just being a little blender. So that's really cool. I just took a Archon. I didn't have Drazar or anything, which I think would be also a big help on the combat side. But yeah, I kind of just ran in too quick to Monty's units, and some of them they felt a little oppressive, like those flamers.
I see.
Those were rough. So
Not only
why flamers were nerfed now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just remember, they used to auto hit.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, was this your first time ever playing a Toughness 3 army?
Yeah.
You've played this game 20 years, yeah?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I've played orcs and power armor, pretty much.
Yeah. So that might be some of it too. It's a different world.
Yeah. So I won't lie, I was missing the might of the Imperium a little bit.
I think you tried guard for a couple games way back when.
Yeah, that's when I was making my nom.
Your NAM. Yeah.
My nom
guys,
themed force. It's pretty legit.
So now that you've played this one game, you two, are you guys playing 1250 next week? Is there a rematch? Is Fate Weaver banned? Are you guys doing a ban lock system?
It should be a lock system. That's amazing.
My big goal is to push and get the rest of the army built. I got to crank through and get about 35 infantry done and finish 2 Ravagers, and my 2K list is ready. So probably not this week, but the week after, I'll probably be ready to play 2K, just so I can get ready for that sweet summer league.
It's definitely not too late to remind everyone that Trident Wargaming Circuit has a range of events coming up here, right? We got the Summer League, we got the RTT at the end of the month, the Farewell to Ninth, one of the last times you're able to play 9th edition competitively. And then not too short after that, we have our big GT in August. And we can also sign up for our fall GT. So all those things, if you haven't done that yet, you need to do that. The events are slowly selling out, and they will sell out. Not trying to shill you on, what I would consider the best events north of the 49th parallel, but
definitely the best events north of Antarctica.
Did you play any games this week, Scotty?
No.
No 40K at all.
No. I only play games I win.
Scotty took a rough loss to Imperial Knights.
No, Chaos Knights.
Chaos Knights. There you go.
Knights.
Yeah. I after finishing up the last league with my ad back there, and I think this is a sentiment a lot of gamers will vibe with. We know that 9th is on its last month or two here. There's
Death
some
Rose.
armies. Yep, there are some armies that I haven't. Not even just factions, but like different types of lists that I haven't had as much time to play as I would have liked. So for the next, month or two here, I'm going to be playing a lot of really kind of off the wall kind of stuff that I just, never found a lot of time to play. And so that started this week, and not to say that it was a bad list by any stretch, it wasn't. But it's just some fun stuff that I want to dick around with, and we're kind of on that sugar time now, where I don't have to worry about whether or not my lists are smart for an event or anything like that, because a lot of stuff aside from the farewell to ninth is going to be 10th, which obviously there's so little we can know about right now. So I'm just going to be having some fun with some lists and seeking out some of the funnest opponents that I can, which is just like the fellow I played this last week here, Jordan Dorland. Hype to Jordan Dorland. He's a great guy to play. You should play him any chance you get. So, and I played Dorland a few times, and I told him I owed him a fun game, because we usually play pretty competitive games. And he definitely got the best of me this time.
One of the things I like about like the end of the edition, or like just weird times when it doesn't matter that you need to win, is people start breaking out like these fun types of armies. Have any of you three ever played Highlander in 40k?
I have.
No.
Not specifically, no.
So for you guys, if you don't know what it is, and for any listeners listening in, Highlander is a format that was made popular in the elder days of Warhammer, where you could only take one of every unit choice, except for troops. But before you could take another squad of troops, you have to take another type of troops. So like before you could take another squad of tactical marines, you have to take scouts, and then you could double up on your tax or whatever, right? And I really think that I think competitive Warhammer is a great thing to do. I think everyone should play that. The game is written to do that these days to some extent. But like playing like for fun, or playing taco missions, or playing like games like Highlander is just another awesome way to really explore what is supposed to be like a dice game between a couple of guys, a couple of people, and meant to be just fun. So anyone who wants to throw down a Highlander game between now and the end of the ninth, throw down the gauntlet, reach out to me. I'd love to give that a shot.
There may be some more Highlander style stuff coming in our future in 10th edition as well. So just watch this space. That's all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. But Highlander is actually, like, to jump systems a little bit, Highlander is even a popular competitive format in Magic, right? Like, it can be competitive as well as just kind of a casual style. So
definitely. Quick round table. Anyone who wants to go first can go first. What'd you paint this week?
Ooh.
Essentially finished that tank. Threw the AK wash on it, and a little bit of powdering, and called her done. The Panzer III for bolt action.
Did you seal the powdering? I know a lot of people don't seal powder. Some people do. So
silly me, I didn't, and then I applied the AK, and it was like, oh, well, that was pointless. So
there goes your powder. It's gone.
So I just redid it again, and now it's sitting pretty. So yeah. Just kind of a little bit of learning experience with working with the material that I have, and she looks great. Brought her out to the store, and everybody kind of ooh ah kind of thing moments. Just nice to see it done. And I got essentially I got one more piece to do, and that army's done. So yeah.
Is there a like a Warlord Games or a Bolt Action equivalent of like those Warhammer Community Fridays where you can like post your miniature out and they'll share it to the world?
Well, they have their pages and like the Instagram and stuff too, right? So you can do all that kind of stuff and post. Sometimes they have, what are you working on posts as well. So I'm usually following most of that stuff anyways. And if I feel like it, I usually post there. But mainly the community, always sharing stuff here with the community. So, and they're quite appreciative of everything that we do, especially here with Trident, setting up events and whatnot. So October event's going to be really fun. So if guys have seen any pictures, I'll probably get more pictures posted on the Instagram and whatnot. The big D-Day table that I'm building. So yeah.
That's like the Siege of Terra of Bolt Action, probably.
Pretty much. So
it's funny you talk on Instagram, because if you check Instagram, I'm pretty sure you can see that Panzer on one of the posts, right?
Yeah, on a couple you see him the stages that it's been in, and then it actually completely done. So, yeah.
Also on Instagram, you can check out what I painted this week. I painted up some Eldar Rangers, which I'm hopefully now Scott will get off my fucking back to play some Rangers because they're painted, and I will feel comfortable putting them on a table. And someone's like, they're not very sneaky. The cloaks are pink, and I was like, fuck, the cloaks are pink. I don't know what to do. they're not sneaky. So maybe I'll screw around and I might go back to them. And have you guys seen what people do with like Space Marine Scouts or like Tyranid stealth suits or Tau stealth suits?
Digital
they draw
camo.
like a little, or like a little blue line to show that some of it's active camo. I may do something like that. But you can find those Rangers and that Panzer on that Trident Wargaming Instagram.
I don't know if I like that.
You don't like that?
I don't know if I like the blue line thing, and yeah,
I like that look. I like it.
I don't know. Maybe it's just I've seen it so much now that it's kind of.
Fucking, that don't impress me much, Shania Twain.
Just me.
It's too old for me.
What'd you guys paint?
Just me.
I didn't paint sweet fuck all. I did a lot of building though. It was basically Operation Build My Jakari Army in like 2 weeks. So week 1 is done. I cranked out a bunch of Venoms, Raiders, Warriors, more Incubi, a bunch of Witches, Scourges, Reavers. They take time. The Witches are big time sink to build. They're so dainty and small. The models are nice, but super small, especially when compared to my favorite being Power Armor. I could probably build 30 Marines in the time it took me to build those 10, which is it's just crazy. But nice kits overall, honestly. They've been a joy to actually build, so I'm looking forward to painting them this upcoming week.
You know what you need to do to really solidify that painting process? You should build yourself a roadmap. And you should release it as content.
Sure, it makes the best content, of course.
Absolutely.
To be fair, the models are quite small. You could definitely fit like 2 Dark Eldar Witches inside a single suit of Terminator armor, and you can think about what that would mean. But yeah, it's definitely very differently sized models. I actually painting this week. I painted some suppressors. I'm halfway through some suppressors, Space Marine suppressors. They're actually still one of my favorite Primaris kits. I really like the look of them.
Those are the ones on like the little jump packs, and they got like an autocannon.
With the autocannon. Yeah, I love them since they were released. They've never ever been terribly good game wise for a billion different reasons. But I actually like how they look. And new edition, new codex. You always kind of hope for the best.
New edition, new you.
So I'm gonna make sure that I've got them painted up just in case, and otherwise it's just one more thing off my shelf anyway. Right now, a lot of my painting stuff is actually Marines. That's what I've kind of got sitting in the backlog. So that's what I'm working on.
Do you think the suppressors will get a kit in 10th finally?
Do they not have a kit?
No, the only way you get them is in that Vanguard box.
Yeah, or like the old. They originally were released with, I think, the Dark Imperium set or whatever. Yes, I do. I mean, I think they're the last kit that still needs to be sold separately because I think
Eradicators are sold separately now.
Yeah.
Yep. They all eventually. Some of them took a long time, but they eventually did start getting sold. We also hear a lot of rumors about Jump Primaris Marines. Not to say that's specifically suppressors, but if they did put their technology towards the Jump Pack style Primaris, you can see how that could easily transfer, right?
Yeah.
So
I think if you're really lucky, you might get like a lieutenant as a kit.
Yes, a suppressor lieutenant for sure. $40 a pop. American. That's $86 Canadian for our listeners.
One of the great things that Scotty's doing here is just building up like an armada, and so it doesn't matter what event you're going to or if you're playing a game. If you got something painted, you can reach into your cabinet or your display case or wherever you're keeping your models, and you can always throw something on the table, and that makes it really good. And I think also when you paint up new units, you also start looking at like their data sheets and like what they can do. And what's that old bit from the time when you guys used to watch TV about like knowledge is power or something?
The more you know.
The more you know. I don't even know what that's from.
Schoolhouse Rock, motherfucker.
Was this in black and white?
No, it was a colored little segment cartoon.
Whoa, you can't call people colored, Bill.
Settle down. Settle down.
But I think, like you said, knowledge is power, and that kind of takes us into our next section. So the main section of the episode of Get It, Got It, Gotcha.
I like that cheese tree you got going on there. Also offered at the grotto.
That's funny because we're talking about cheese. We're talking about gotchas. This last week in Warhammer, there was a pretty big event. It was the Alamo GT, and War Games Live on YouTube was streaming the very top table, and it was kind of an unorthodox matchup for a top table. You saw your 33% win rate AdMech face up against Votan, and Votan have some abilities where they can like deep strike some guys randomly around the table. And I'm pretty sure I'm getting this right. And if I'm not, Scotty will correct me here because we're going to hand off the reins to him to explain what happens in just a sec. But many armies in this game have the ability to take an out of turn shooting attack. So what happened at Alamo GT, Scotty?
So I think the heart of this, and the reason that I think I'm seeing a lot of people talk about it, is that it has less to do with the armies involved and everything to do with this really nebulous concept, which is at the heart of the game, which involves sportsmanship. And as Arthur specifically mentioned, gotchas. And I'm going to preface this entire conversation by saying that I actually have very high hopes for this not being as much of an issue in 10th edition. This is probably one of the healthiest things that I can see as far as the changes go for 10th edition. Of course, we'll have to wait to see if this is how it plays out. But the actual scenario that played out, that caused a lot of people on the internet to get into a big tizzy for one way or the other, was that between this match, what ended up happening is the one player who was actually the AdMech player ended up doing a mid-game reposition of a unit via a relic that they had, which triggered a stratagem from the Votan player, which was like an aspect scan, which allows them to shoot at a unit that deep struck, and it caused a big row between the two players at that exact moment in time because the AdMech player felt like he was being gotcha'd, which is to say that he was something was being sprung on him that he was not aware could happen. And to be honest with you, if it hadn't been for how strongly his emotional response to the situation was, I don't know that we'd even be talking about it. But it cuts to the heart of something which is the case for both competitive and casual gamers, which is that Warhammer, as any board game, is a social contract. You're not just there to play through the rules, you're also there to play with an actual human being who you are not playing like an online video game with, a real person who is right there in front of you. You get to experience their entire scope of reactions and everything, which is actually, I think for a lot of us, a plus. That's part of the charm of the game. And there's a lot of factors to consider here. I mean, obviously this was the top table at a major event, so these are obviously players who play a lot of games. There, of course, was references to the fact that this rule was actually brought up before the game by the player who used this rule. So the AdMech player couldn't necessarily say they didn't know, but of course there's a counter argument, which is that 9th edition is so full of rules that it's hard to keep track of them all. And there's also, argument and counter argument to the way that people play, what you're responsible for as a player, how much you should say or not say, because of course there's a flip side to it's like, should you really just play your other person's army for them? Like, what are you responsible for?
I don't play that way.
It also cuts to the yeah, exactly. That's exactly the statement. In fact, that's exactly the statement which was echoed across Reddit and YouTube and a million other forums, I'm sure. You know what? I'm going to soapbox this one for you because that's what we're here to talk about. Here's the fast and dirty reality of it. Outside of the raw rules, which is to say the rules as written, what is and isn't is something that is entirely determined by your local group of players, and that may be just you and your one buddy. Okay, we all have different understandings of what not just is acceptable, but what is desirable. We all have different metas. We all have different levels of competitive or casual play, and that's why it's always tricky. I think the most dangerous thing that I've ever heard a wargamer say was, "I just want to play a narrative game." That's why we make fun of it sometimes, because what is narrative to one person is not narrative to another.
It's true.
And narrative for me is winning.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of the thing, right?
Narratively
If
winning.
you play Ultramarines, you're like, well, my plot armor is going to come through for me. So, but here's the thing: at the end of the day, I think that really in 40K, specifically ninth, part of the issue is the depth and complexity of the rules. If the rules are not as deep and as complex, then you realistically do not have to put into as much mental labor, both as the player getting gotcha'd and as the player doing gotchas, quote unquote, into worrying about this problem, because you can reasonably expect, and that's entirely what this conversation is about. Let me kid you not. What can you reasonably expect your opponent to know about?
So
And
was it a gotcha? Was it a gotcha? Yes or no?
Well, we're not done yet. Reasonably, you want your opponent to be able to expect everything that you can do without you having to say a single word. That is the ideal game, because then you don't have to worry about gotchaing them, but you also don't have to worry about talking them through your next move, which is actually anti-competitive as well. If you're telling them everything that you can do in response to what they do, that's not good either. Then why do we even have, like people have brought up with Auspec scan? If you're constantly reminding your opponent that you can Auspec scan their units, well, why does Auspec scan even exist? Like, I mean, yeah, it provides a denial zone, I guess, unless they want to jump into it. But like, realistically, you shouldn't have to tell them. But in 9th edition 40K, you kind of do, because there's so many rules. Here's the thing. In my opinion, to answer Arthur's question, to this exact thing, this was not a gotcha, which I know a lot of people are going to be mad at me for saying. In a casual game with your buddy, that's a gotcha, 100% of the time. At the top table at a tournament with 250 players, no, that's not a gotcha. Players
even
need
think
to know.
with your buddy, that's not a gotcha, and I'll tell you why in just a sec. Continue.
The other thing is, like, the AdMech player has the exact same stratagem as that Votan player, and it was mentioned pre-game. People say, well, you know, there's a big pre-game info dump. That goes back to the heart of the issue, which is that there's too much to know in 9th edition 40K, too much to keep track of. But like, to me, it's like the same thing as so many other sports and esports. They say if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Now that, to be fair, I don't think you should cheat. But this was an example of a time where a guy didn't cheat at all. He just played the rules exactly as they were. And he benefited from it. To be fair, I think he was going to win the game either way. A lot of people disagree, but I don't think it was a gotcha. But I do understand the fervor over it, because everybody's been in that situation where they forgot something, or someone pulled a fast one on them, and they felt real bad about it. And it sucks. So I do think, from what I've seen, 10th edition will be better, because there's simply simpler rules.
So let me put this to Andy for a second. Andy,
Yes.
you were new to 40K.
Yes.
Do you know what heroic interventions are?
Yeah, somewhat. You can move your character within like 3 inches or so, or 6 inches. I don't know what it is.
So normally 3.
Come into combat to intervene, right? So
now, if you move a character, like a unit that's like kind of a combat wuss, pink horrors or something that's like not meant to be there, and you move it next to 3 inches of one of my dudes, am I obligated to tell you that I can heroic and then fight you and then wipe you?
Well, that's part of the rules. And
if I don't, is that a gotcha?
But it's part of the generic rules, is it not?
It is.
So you should, if you're playing the game, and if you've been playing it at that level, in a tournament level, you should know that. So to me, that's not a gotcha mode. And
all right,
there was actually a friend of ours who said in most games, the person who makes the least amount of mistakes is usually the guy who.
And that's true for sports and anything that's done competitively,
that's
right?
For war, period. Like, it's just, it's kind of the same thing here. Like, you know what? Nobody's perfect. Like, I've played lots of games and I've made blunders and I've forgotten rules, and I'm not one of those guys that goes, oh shit, I forgot to do this 2 turns ago. Can I take it back? Like, I'm not one of those guys. It's a different story. But in this case, like, you didn't say it to me, or you didn't mention it to me about reminding me, oh, I can hero intervene or whatever. I don't think that's a gotcha moment.
All right, Billy, I'm going to throw one at you here for a sec. You have played my Sisters of Battle a couple of times.
Yeah.
And you might remember that one of my sister's characters can make you fight last.
Bitch.
Now, yeah, it happens. I try to tell everyone, or I pretty much do, or I almost always do, or I always do, pick one of the above, that I tell people this character can make you fight last. And then we fight. You come charge me. It's next to a character. Should I tell you that I'll make you fight last? Hey, if you charge my guy, you're going to fight last, Bill.
I think at that point, like, it would be... I like putting the onus on the actual other player in this particular thing. If I ask you, hey, do you have any charge last in here? And you're like, no, then that's bullshit. But if you're like, yeah, I do, okay, cool. But that's on me to actually ask. And that's why I don't think that this situation was a gotcha either, because as I'm about to drop or redeploy my unit or come from reserves, insert whatever above, did he ask, do you have any Auspex scans or anything like that? And then if he wasn't answered properly, then okay, it's a big deal. But he didn't even ask. Like, I remember watching it, and I was like, that's kind of on you, man. Like, you kind of heard it in the pregame. I know people are like, pregame, it's bullshit. There's so much. But at least you ask. That's the biggest thing for me. Like, I would ask myself, like, you know, do you have any reaction, any stuff that's going to shoot me up if I drop down? Or any...
Can you fuck with me? Can you fuck with me?
Is there anything you can do to fuck with me over here? Right? Just asking in general. And I think the sportsmanship comes from how that person answers.
So I played a game at a tournament, and it was like a similar situation. I was playing a person. I was asking if they could modify my shooting in any way. And I asked this question like 3 or 4 different times. And they said, no. And then it came to the shooting phase, and they're like, all right, I'm giving your entire army a -1 to hit. And I was fucking appalled, because I had asked the question, and then they said, oh, well, you didn't ask that one specifically. So the difference between a gotcha for me is deliberately like misinterpreting information. That's being like, I got you motherfucker, right? And that should not be allowed. But there's actually no rules for this. So if you look at the main Warhammer rulebook, it doesn't actually say like you are obligated to tell your opponent this at any time. That is what goes down to that social contract that Scotty was talking about.
Yeah.
And I understand, like Scotty mentioned, like if it's a friendly game, you should tell people. Well, I like winning against my friends too.
So as an example, in mine, Bill's game that we did play, like he did tell me about the hero convention, right? And he's going to tell me that once. He's not going to tell me it again, and which is perfectly fine. That was like, you know, I'm just learning the shit again, learning the rules again. So you're telling me once, but I was also asking him a lot of questions about stuff in the game, right?
Right.
So like Bill was saying too, like, yeah, like you have to own those questions. You have to own that experience as well. Like if I was to play again, I'm sure there'd be shit that would come up, and I would be asking questions. And if it happened to me once, it would have been, nope, that's in here now. That's not going to happen again, right? But
now, what if you guys play a lot of Heresy, and every Legion has a reaction? You know that there are special abilities done by special things, but I'm guessing you don't have all 18 or 17 memorized, however many Legions there are. Because there's a couple that are redacted, right? I think there's 18.
18.
You go in the movement phase, and all of a sudden, fucking Space Wolves come hailing out of reserves. I think that's theirs, but I don't remember. And it totally fucks your game plan, and you lose. And you say, well, I didn't know. Whose fault is that?
I think that's...
Again, it kind of depends on
go
the
ahead.
game.
Yeah, it depends on the game. A lot of the guys from the slow grow and just general the community, they've been really good at usually throwing it out there. Like, hey, have you ever played Space Wolves before? And if you're like, no, I haven't. Okay, this is what my Legion reaction can do.
Is that the reaction? Did I get that right?
So
that's no, it's not quite like that.
Okay,
it's basically you move within X amount. They can do
they charge you.
They can do a move counter charge to you, basically.
Okay.
Very powerful, really good. Imperial Fist, same thing, just a little bit weaker. But I always throw it out there. Have you ever played Imperial Fist before? And if you're like, no, this is what my reaction can do.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you, and then like it's out in the open, right? Like. So I like to give people a heads up on that.
Well, I mean, anyone who's ever played Magic the Gathering has run into when blue has 2 mana open, and all of a sudden someone hits you with a counterspell, and it never fucking feels good. But to a certain extent, when you play any of these games, you have to acknowledge that you don't know what other bullshit people have.
Yeah.
But you have to know that they have bullshit.
Absolutely.
True.
I think Bill really, I think, especially hit the nail on the head, and this is it's hitting me because it's something that I tell everybody who I work with to improve their game and to improve my own game. Something that comes up. This is true of so many game systems. It's not just 40K. It's 30K as well. It's probably bolt action. So many others. Okay, he said the exact right thing, which is that ask. This is like there isn't always an onus on you to necessarily know everything, but ask. Because at that point, if you're asking, hey, can you do something about this right in the moment, the onus goes on to your opponent to be honest.
Yeah.
And there are game systems, to be fair, where the rules explicitly state that you either do or don't have to tell them. 40K, for example, is one where it doesn't explicitly say anything, but there is an understanding that if you ask, hey, can you do something about this?
I don't know.
They're going to tell you. They're going to tell you. The community standard is that, like if they can do a thing and you ask. And all of the best players I know, you know what they do? They ask. They're asking so many questions. That goes back to the whole plays by intent thing. Is that because plays by intent is a great system that we use in a lot of competitive 40K.
My intent is to win.
Systems. Yeah, well, fair. But it's like, speak, use your words, and state stuff out loud. And if you're not doing that, well, and it is a little different. If you are playing with your friends, like I said, that's where the social contract comes in. You can have a different social contract with your friends or your local club or whatever than you might with strangers at an event. Yeah. But even at an event, there is still some social contract. But like, this is where the counter argument always goes back to. It's like, at what point do I have to stop playing for you to your benefit?
Yeah.
Because that is anti-competitive. I shouldn't have to do anything for you besides what the rules say I should.
And
at the same time, you want to be gentlemanly, right?
There's the spirit of the game, man.
I also think though too, like at if you're in a competitive tournament or at that level, like you got to have your A game, right? And like you said, I shouldn't be playing your army for you, or I shouldn't be doing these actions for you, reminding you of that stuff, right? I get it. If you know what you're doing an event that is a friendly event or a narrative event, and just having guys come out and play, talk it out, do all that stuff. Even with bolt action, like anytime I have new players coming into bolt action and I'm doing demo games with them and stuff, and they start asking me about army lists and this and that, they have theater selectors, which are kind of like detachments, right? From, I guess I would say like 7th edition kind of thing, where they had special rules. Well, I keep telling people, I go, well, when you're playing somebody, you're usually using a reinforced platoon, which is a generic army builder. But if you're going to use a theater selector, talk with your opponent. Tell them what's in that theater selector, what makes it so special. Why are you playing it, right? The intent. And, what era, because there's different eras for the war and stuff. So it makes for a better game, it makes for a better community, it makes for better players, in my opinion. And you don't have those, outbursts of, well, you fucked me because of this or whatever. I lost because of that, right? So it's not just 40K. It's all games are like that, right? So take it from that. But
now here's another one. What if someone moves and or they forget to move, and then it goes to a point in the next game turn where they realize this. And if you let them move, you will lose the game. However, if you don't let them move, you will win the game. Within their locus of control, within their agency, they had the power to make the thing, and they didn't do that in the time allotted. And then they move on, and they move some other stuff, and maybe dice haven't been rolled yet to make a difference to know like whether or not this would matter. Maybe they just forgot to move on to an objective. Do you let them do it? Or do you say, fucking pound sand, buddy, get out of here?
Is it already gone through a different phase?
It's swapped to next phase. They've missed their chance, but they was within their power to do it, and it was just a simple mistake.
I got one other thing. What type of scenario are you in? Are you in a tournament, or are you in just a friendly game? Where are you at?
Either, whatever.
You know what?
It's like,
friendly game. I'm cool. Do what you want to do. We're just rolling dice, just checking dice. When it comes to a tournament, I'm sorry, man. I've had that happen to me where I've actually let the guy take his move, and it did make me lose the game. I took it with grace because I let him do it, but never again. I'm sorry, but it's already past the phase. You're already in a different phase. You made a mistake. It happens. I do it too. I do it all the time. So,
Billy, Scotty, what about you guys?
I think when it comes,
go ahead. No, go ahead, Scott.
I think when it comes to competitive events, you have to say no. And by that, I don't mean you never allow backsies. I actually do all the time. But you have to draw a line. And I do think that, again, social contract comes into play here. I've played games where we both allowed a lot more, and I've played games where we both allowed a lot less. And sometimes I've played both those games in the same event. This is where it goes. This is the charm to me of tabletop gaming that's different from video gaming, even competitive video gaming. The rules are flexible. At the end of the day, more often than not, the only people deciding the rules are you and your opponent, which to me is a charm, but to a lot of people, they don't love it because there aren't hard and fast rules, or at least you can break them if you want. Yeah, I think that competitively you tend to allow less, but I also think that you that's something you discuss with your opponent, and sometimes you don't even discuss it with your words, you discuss it with your actions. So it plays out a little differently. But in general, yeah, in an event, once you both put money down, it's going to be less forgiving.
Billy.
This is something that's always kind of been an interesting talking point for me. My biggest focus in a game is I want to win through generalship. I want to actually make better tactical choices than you do, and that causes me to win. I don't want to win because you fucked up and you forgot something. Because for me that's a feels bad, and I personally don't like it. I'd rather lose the game and be like, take your move, because like we haven't gone that, like if you went to shooting and you just, or a psychic phase, right? You just did a psychic phase. And oh shit, dude, can I move this? I'd be like, move. It's fine, right? Because I don't want to win because of that. Like okay. I want to win because I actually outplayed you, not because oh fuck, you didn't see those guys on the other side of the building. Like, haha. I don't like that, right? Me personally, I don't like that. So
that's not what it's about for you at a tournament or not.
No, like if I'm going to win that game, I'm going to win that game because I'm outplaying him, not because he made a mistake or forgot to disembark a unit and something. Like, you know what I mean? It's just do it. Like, it's fine. If it's the next turn or something obscene, then no. Like, too bad. That's too far. But if it's like just sliding into the next phase, you did like one psychic power and it's like, oh shit, dude, I forgot this. Just move it. I don't care. Like, it's fine. Because I know your intent would be to move that. Like, you wouldn't purposely fuck yourself over, right? So I try and be a little bit forgiving about that, especially when there's so much action happening at an event. So
I think I've been on both sides of this coin, and I think it never feels good. And I think if I'm playing at an event, I'm there to medal, I'm there to podium, I'm there to finish. And finish first. Who cares about going second, right? Am I right? And I think that this might be a hot take. I think that being the best general means you're the general that made the fewest mistakes. And not everyone's going to like this. And I've had my own takesy backsies too. But I think that to a certain extent, you have to start saying, no, you can't move. You forgot to shoot. Sorry, Scott, you drank your 3 beers and you forgot to deep strike your guys on turn 3. They can't come on. That's a real thing that happened to Foe. Scotty brought his guys on turn 4. It's definitely illegal. I don't know who won that game.
It was a 3-pint night.
It was a 3-pint night.
I saw that.
What?
And like, even in friendly games, I think I hate losing to my friends more than I hate losing to random competitors. And I don't know why that is, because like your friends,
you know
your
why
friends.
It is. You know why it is. It's like, yeah,
fucking Bill beats you at Chaos Space Marine one time, and they never lets it fucking drop.
That's right.
So So all of us saying this, like, how many times have you actually had that happen where you've messed up or you've forgotten something, and the opponent is like, oh no, you can do it. Go ahead and do it, and you're like, nope, I got to learn. How many times have you done that? Because I do that. Both. I do that all the time.
A lot of people are like that, yeah.
Right? I do that all the time. Like, no, I forgot to cast this power. That's on me. Let's keep on playing.
And to me, like, that's a cool fucking opponent. If he's like, hey man, you forgot, like, do your thing. You're like, no, I gotta learn, because I won't lie. You will learn the best when you get burned the most. In a game, if you fucked up and you made that wrong call and you're stubborn enough to not do it, I guarantee you will not do that again. You will learn properly.
And you do cherish an opponent who's like that, who's super honest about it. Like the Eldar player who rolls one too many dice with their striking Scorpion X-Arch, and they pull out a hit instead of re-rolling the entire thing into sixes. That would be a good opponent, as opposed to a guy who re-rolled everything into a bunch of sixes. But not to say that's ever happened. But yeah, and I do think players should hold themselves accountable like that, and I think they should in competitive tournaments too. If everybody did, we wouldn't even have to ask the question. But the thing is, some people don't.
And I think for the most part,
and people say, "Can I go back?" So
I think for the most part, locally, everybody's pretty good at it.
Yeah. We have a great community here,
except for maybe Arthur, but
Eldar players in general.
They don't call me Mr. Warhammer community just because I paint well, Andy. Fucking ruthless on the tabletop, apparently.
True.
What I would like to know, if you're listening right now on YouTube or in a place where you can throw out a comment, let me hear your thoughts. What is a gotcha? Did a gotcha at the Alamo GT happen? If someone makes a mistake, do you let them have a take backsies? Where do you kind of align yourself on this? In this,
and in what situation? Competitive, casual, etc.
Yeah, and sometimes in between, like those league matches that are semi-comp, it's not a tournament, but results matter. So, like, where do you place yourself? If you're, like I said, if you're listening, throw a comment in. Would love to hear your feedback on that. And it's going to take us into our last section before we say goodbye for another couple of weeks, is the faction focuses. Mistakes made or not, GW's been posting these faction focuses every day, one a week, kind of leading us up to when the 10th edition of Warhammer will drop. And I just want to do a quick roundtable here. We'll do Scotty, Billy, Andy in that order of which faction focused have you liked the most, that you thought you were impressed by the most, and which one did you least like? Which one were you like, wow, they did my boy dirty?
I'll kick us off. I have to run pretty quick here because the sirens of the grotto are calling me back to the forbidden pools. So as I'm sure you guys understand, I must abide the call. You guys really should want to win TWC though. This place is nirvana. You'll have a great time here. What are my favorite and least favorite? Okay, my favorite that I've read so far, and this is a favorite, keep in mind, not a most powerful. I think the most powerful has been Space Marines, again, just on the basis of rules and data. But my favorite, my favorite was actually Tyranids. I actually really liked. To be fair, I love their new models, but I know and it doesn't matter what I'm going to say. People are going to rage, but I actually do think that their rules are in a good sweet spot between impactful without being unbalanced. There's still obviously lots to know. I like the look of the data sheets. I thought some stuff was doing a good job of capturing flavor without sacrificing, the ability for it to play on the tabletop. And I'm not even a huge Tyranid stan, so that was really good. The ones I didn't like the most are, it's a bit of a tie. Arthur brought it up earlier. Necrons, didn't love it, and I didn't love the Sisters one either. And they're actually for the same reason. And it goes to the heart of a rule that I hate that GW uses, which is rules that are tied to your units being under strength. And you may not immediately make the connection, but like the Sisters faction rule or detachment rule, where they get +1 to hit or wound depending on a weakened squad, and reanimation protocols, this new version / old version, are actually kind of the same thing. They're rules that only trigger if your unit's already been beat up but not killed. I hate rules like that. They don't work very well in 40k. They never have. Because the thing about them is, chances are, if your opponent targets you, they're going to kill your unit. And if they don't kill your unit, they're going to maim the fuck out of it. So for you to get bonuses on that unit is like, it's just not, doesn't help a ton. In the case of the sisters, yeah, +1 to hit and wound are both incredibly powerful abilities, but sisters units tend to be T3 models with like a very limited number of wounds. Once your opponent gets to grips, you're going to main shit, and you're just not going to get a lot of benefit out of that no matter what. You're literally asking for them to leave you the exact right number of models. In the case of reanimation protocols, it is a little better, even if you have only one model left. Hey, getting free models back is amazing. That is true. However, compared to even current reanimation protocols, which isn't perfect, don't get me wrong, you're not going to get as much back. And again, our current reanimation protocols is not amazing. But we have had this kind of command phase once per turn reanimation before, and it was literally useless. Everybody agreed. It was complete garbage. It never had play. So if you have army-wide abilities, which ostensibly are force multipliers, that are tied to you having beaten but not killed units, it's always tough. It's really, really tough. If you're going to have rules like that, you literally need to have rules on hand where you can cause damage to yourself in a very small way in order to trigger them. Otherwise, they're not good. If they had paired reanimation protocols or the Sisters Detachment rule with the Chaos Space Marines Dark Pact, where they do D3 mortals to their own units, that actually would be good, because then you could trigger it yourself. But instead, Dark Pact is on its own, so Chaos Space Marine players hate it, and these other rules are on their own, where, believe me, give it 6 months into 10th, people will hate it, I promise you. They'll be like, wow, this rule's garbage. So those would be my picks.
At that point, I think Scotty's going to be leaving us for the night to go see the Sirens.
Yeah.
But we can pass it off to maybe Billy next. Your favorite faction, based on the preview, the one you think that they did the best.
So far.
Something that you think that they did the worst.
So far, I really liked the Space Marine one as well. I think it just, they feel like they're back. So I am looking forward to seeing how they play. My least favorite so far is, to be honest, I really liked the Chaos Space Marine preview, but I really don't like how shitty Abaddon seems to feel compared to like Guilliman and what inevitably will be, Angron. And like, I know he's not a Primarch, but he's...
I was just about to say, your boy's not a Primarch, man.
I know, but he's pretty powerful, but he's not T9. Like,
he's supposed to be a Chaos hero in Legend, right? Like,
yeah, like he's not supposed to be, like, he's not a Horus, but he's supposed to be pretty fucking close. So,
well, and he's the chosen champion of the Dark Gods, so he should have that reflected.
Yeah, I feel his data sheet isn't quite up to where it should be, but that's kind of my opinion. Although this is again coming from very little actual knowledge of how he's going to translate and play in game. I know he does have some good rules, some aura shit that can really make it like a very fun army to play. But it's just, I would hope he's a little bit tougher. So,
and we haven't seen points yet either, because if you get that data sheet at 100 points, you take him every fucking game.
Yeah.
But if you get that data sheet at 400 points, those rules are good. They're not that good. And so, if you get him at 300, do you need the things that he does for those rules?
Yeah.
Andy, favorite and least favorite faction focus?
Well, favorite is going to be my demons, of course.
Now, because you like demons, or because you thought that the rules they had to represent them are doing your boys well?
I think the rules from compared to what I've played with just recently.
Okay.
So I kind of like the Shadows of Chaos effect, where you're getting this bubble kind of thing. If you're controlling more objectives in no man's land, enemies' territory, you start getting these little perks, right? And then also there's some mortal wounds that you start causing to units, and also I believe healing. I think
that's right.
I remember. So
And it depends on like how far up the board you are and stuff like that.
Yeah, as long as you're in the shadow of chaos, essentially. And then there's Bellicor, who has the ability that he essentially has his own little shadow that he can bring out and whatnot. So, and then there's also I think you can deep strike. It's like the demonic incursion into the shadows there. So instead of 9 inches away from an enemy unit, 6 inches. So, doing some close combat kind of Khorne army would really benefit from that, and
helps to get those charges off and what have you.
And it gives it the feel of demons, urging the veil and coming through, and all of a sudden just they're there in your face, right? So
GW always hasn't done that rule right. I remember back in 5th edition, they had to deep strike their guys in, but the rules for Old 5th for deep strikes were quite punishing. If you didn't hit that scatter dice dead on, you could move. And if you move on top of something, you got to pick your shit up. So you just had to play that careful role of like getting them close, but not too close, but not too far. This one seems like they've thought about it.
Yeah. So I'd have to say that I really like them right there where they are for now for the rules, for just what they've shown us essentially. And then looking at the Votann, I know some people are probably gonna be like, "What are you talking about?" But the whole grudge token thing, throwing it on a whole bunch of units, I think that's a mechanic that definitely could be forgotten.
That auto wounding on hits of 4 up for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's just even just the tokens alone with the grudges stuff. Like I've played other games where you have a lot of stuff that you got to track of, right? And it tends to be forgotten a lot of times, and then you'll run into those moments of, oh shit, I forgot this, right?
Okay.
So I'm not a fan of that, but I mean, don't get me wrong. Having the judgment tokens on them, they're actually pretty good for what they can do. I'm glad that they've, it's just 2 and that's it. So there's that for them. Really, that's kind of about it for them. I did notice that I think it was possibly a stratagem or something. There was 2 armies. I can't remember which ones were, but there was 2 armies that had essentially it's the same rule, right?
Well, like, do you remember what rule you're talking about? Like, what is the effect of it? Well, with however many factions are in the game, there's only so much granularity that they have. So
yeah, so I can't quite remember exactly what it was, but yeah, I would say Votann. Like for me, I just
didn't love it.
Having to just keep track of stuff, that's essentially definitely where I would forget things, right? So other than that, it's really about it.
I think that for myself, my favorite, and this comes from a place of spite, was the World Eaters changes. Because the World Eaters faction right now is that like whenever something dies, friendly, enemy, fucking neutral, if that was a thing, they get these blood tokens. And that makes fluff sense, because skulls for the Skull Throne, blood for the Blood God. But the fucking rules for that, with the secondary objectives and some of the buffs that World Eaters could get army-wide for like you just playing the game, was wild. And people are going to disagree with that, and I'm not trying to hate on like Chaos Space Marines of any flavor, but like even the secondary objectives was like writing auto 15 just for existing. So I'm happy to see that is gone, and I know a lot of people are upset because they're like, World Eaters players don't like Yahtzee. Everybody likes Yahtzee. We're playing dice games. Absolutely. We're playing dice games, man. The World Eaters one right now is fucking cool. You're gonna roll 8 dice. 8 is the number of the Blood God, and you get to pick 2 from this table. And you guaranteed get 1 double in those 8 dice. There's a 50% chance it's going to be a 4-up, so you're going to be able to advance and charge. You could probably get your lethal hits. You can fight on death. You can exploding 6s. You can feel no pain. You can add your movement. Like, all of those buffs they have on this table are fucking good, but you're not going to get all of them, and it's not going to compound. I think that these are cool. I think that it's good that they're random. Demon gods are fickle. They always have been, right? They don't always dole out their love in the same ways to the same people all the time. In the lore, how many times have the Chaos Faithful been dicked over for some reason or other?
More often than you can usually count.
Right? Like, who's turned into a spawn?
It's true.
Remember those old Dark Pact tables? And that was a thing from Age of Sigmar too. You get a blessing from the Dark Gods, and like sometimes you turn into a fucking spawn. I loved that table. I thought it was neat. I know a lot of people don't, but I think this is a cool table where there is some randomness, but there's also some stuff within your locus of control, within your agency that you can make decisions on, and it's all good. So I see this as an absolute win.
It's
My big minus.
I was going to say it's very similar to what demons are right now, with the warp storm points and shit they can have. So
roll dice.
It doesn't seem bad. Like, to me, I like the changes as well. So
I would like to see the Chaos Codexes come back into the fold, because each of them only have like limited amounts of data sheets, and they used to all kind of be within Chaos Space Marines as a whole. I'd like to see those merge, but maybe I'm the only one that wants that. I don't know. My least favorite faction focus, unfortunately, was your boys in blue, the Space Marines, or your boys in any of the 20 colors that they're allowed to roll out in. Just because their faction special rule, Oath of Moment, where they get to reroll hits and wounds every single turn against something, seems a bit pushed to me. And they said that this edition was going to be less reroll hits and wounds. I think back to previous editions where rerolling stuff was quite rare. You got it through like Twin Linked, or sometimes like Hatred, and it was special. But throughout 8th and 9th, like if your shit didn't have rerolls, you didn't play it. I say that as a Sisters player and as an Eldar player, because you both capitalize on those rerolls. And so I think that just giving Marines like army-wide free rerolls to kill one thing isn't good game design. Because it's not character locked, it's not area locked. If you're playing Iron Hands tanks and you want to go kill that thing way off the distance, guess we'll be rerolling hits and wounds. Now, we haven't seen everything yet. I could be totally wrong on that. Maybe it won't be as bad as I think it will. But it just seems like that's a little bit better or over the top or pushed or whatever than what Scott was saying about Necrons. If your guys survive a turn, you get to bring some guys back.
Yeah.
This next week, we are seeing AdMech up first. And then we'll see 4 more previews. We'll see which ones we get.
There was a post, I can't remember where it was, where they had kind of like a sneak peek of all the previews listed.
It wasn't in order though, and that's proven not to be accurate. Yeah. So a lot of people are actually putting together little pools and seeing who can bet what's going to happen when, which is fun. So we'll see who we get next week. I bet you we'll see another one of the Chaos factions that we haven't seen. We'll see another Imperium faction. We'll see another Xenos faction, right? Like, they're probably going to spread the love a little bit as good as they can. And I'm hopeful, and I'm excited, and I want to play more games. And I hope that I'll see both of you this Thursday night at our Trident Wargaming Thursday Night Gaming.
Always.
Bill, you coming out? And you can come roll some dice?
I hope so. I know I got to meet somebody Thursday night, but I should be able to make it. So,
well, for all of our local people in Edmonton, every Thursday night at the Fraternal Order of Eagles over in St. Albert, we have our Thursday night gaming for Trident Wargaming. And with that summer league coming soon, there's bonus points to be acquired towards an extra prize for playing your games there. And I hope to see you guys all then. But I think, Andy, there's another thing that maybe you're running the show on, where you'd hope to engage the community on. Happens Sunday nights.
Oh yes, painting nights, the hobby nights that we tend to do on Discord and whatnot. Usually, I think last one we did at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, 8 p.m.
8 p.m. So come and check out our Discord and jump in. And there's usually actually, there's been quite a few of us that have jumped in there. Gets a little rowdy, but it's all good. We have a lot of fun.
Are you going to take your shirt and pants off again?
No, I'm not. Not again. So
not for free.
That's all you guys in the different gaming communities as well. That are on the server, and if you want to join, we do have the link join as well. We can always post it, put it in.
Yeah, I'll throw it in the description.
Details and whatnot, descriptions. But come on down, hang out with us. A lot of guys tend to stream what they're working on, chit chat. Talk hobby, talk shop with the games and whatnot. We had majority of the guys were doing Heresy and 40K, and then we had a couple of bolt action people down there as well. So, and really just coming out, hanging out, getting stuff painted, and having a good time. So, usually, I don't know. I think Bill, you were on for like what, a couple hours last time, weren't you?
Yeah, I was on till like 10:30, and I was like, shit, I got to be up at 5. I got to go.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, come on down. It's a lot of fun. You get to chit chat with all the other players and kind of get to know each other as well, right? So it's good.
And what's this other thing that people can support our channel, Bill?
Well, I'm glad you asked, my friend. To support the channel, you can jump on to our Patreon, just like Frederick and Dustin, which big shout out to the two of them. They are continuously supporting the channel. We use the money that we get from that to try and help make things a little bit better. Be it, even buy ourselves a nice cold beverage on these hot days, because creating content is hard work, especially when you're posting roadmaps. And we really want to, we want to say thank you for all the support. And that's just a way you can kind of help us out a little bit extra. And as we continue to go, we release more content on there. It's kind of it's growing from scratch. So we've got Battle Bling special discount codes for you on there. We've got just kind of general engagement, because we like to hear what the patrons are doing, what their favorite systems are, what they like to hear. And, jumping in and supporting, you might even start to be able to help steer the show with some episodes. If you specifically want to hear something, you know what? Like, I'm more than willing to jump on there. So definitely check out all the links in our description, because we'll have links for basically everything in there.
I think best or top subscriber throughout the year gets an invite to the Grotto.
Oh. I like that.
I think that pretty much wraps up Get It, Got It, Gotcha. So you want to take us out?
Yeah, I guess. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. We hope to see you at Paint Nights and Thursday night drop-ins. And we will catch you next week.